Everybody, thank you for joining us this morning. This is Scott Haislip. I'm NAA's Vice President of Legal Affairs, and I want to welcome you to the AANC and NAA Town Hall Lease Transition Meeting. What we want to go through today is kind of the reasons that AANC and NAA have merged their lease program. We'll hear from Amy Groff, Norm Praet, and Sherry Yarborough on that today. And then we'll talk about a little bit about the actual transition process itself. We'll hear from Nick Tovar with NAA and Tim Rogers from Blue Moon on the actual technicalities of Nick and his team reaching out to all of you and then handing you off to Tim to set up your accounts, etc., with Blue Moon under the new NAA accounts. And then we'll open it up to a live Q&A at the end with all the previous panelists, and then also myself and Todd, Whitlow, and Norm coming back to be available to answer any of your legal questions regarding the forms themselves going forward. So with that, I will hand it off to NAA's Senior Vice President of Legal Affairs, Industry Ops, Amy Groff, to kick us off. Amy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I am Amy Groff. I'm the Senior Vice President of Industry Affairs with the National Industry Operations. Now, Scott, you have me confused.
I'm sorry.
Industry Operations with the National Apartment Association. So part of my responsibility is our National Click and Lease platform. And I'm pleased to be here this morning in partnership with the Apartment Association of North Carolina. We started talking several months ago about how great it would be if we were to combine our leases, which are both great lease platforms, into one really awesome lease platform to be able to offer to all of the North Carolina members. The basic reason we wanted to do this is because NAA has been focused on a lot of great enhancements to our national lease platform. And I think that it just made sense for us to combine our platforms in order to be able to offer all of you all of the great enhancements that NAA is working on. We're still going to be offering you a legally compliant product. I know you're going to hear from the landlord and tenant attorneys this morning. You're also going to hear about how NAA is reviewing on an annual basis all of the regulations and law changes to make sure that we are compliant down to a jurisdictional level review. We are also still partnering with Blue Moon Technology, so you're still going to have the great digital technology to be able to lease to your prospective residents and handle all of your renewals electronically and online. We also are pleased to announce that as a benefit of becoming an NAA Click and Lease user, you're going to be able to have the litigation defender insurance coverage. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that this morning, but basically that's triggered if ever a plaintiff challenges a provision of the NAA Click and Lease forms. The form itself is still integrated with all of your property management software systems. So all in all, it's a great platform. We're pleased to merge this together into one really great lease and addendum technology for you. And I look forward to hearing more about your questions and concerns that you have this morning. We want to make sure that you all are very comfortable with this transition. We've worked really hard to make sure that it's going to be a seamless transition. And we're here this morning to make sure that you all are comfortable and have all your questions answered. So thanks again for having us this morning. Norm, did you have anything, and Sherry, that you wanted to kick off this morning with?
Sherry, yeah, I just wanted to tell the group we really appreciate them being on today. And I do currently serve as president of the Apartment Association of North Carolina, and just want to spend a couple of moments just to explain why we felt that this change was needed. Up until now, members had the option to choose between the AANC lease or the NAA lease. And NAA has reached out to us quite a few times over the years to start discussions about potentially merging the two leases together. And up until now, it was something that we just weren't prepared to do. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into creating the AANC lease. It's a great product. But the timing just wasn't right to make a change up until now. We're very excited to begin this partnership with NAA to integrate both leases into the Click and Lease program for North Carolina, which we believe will be combining the best of both lease products, including the legal compliance review and the Blue Moon technology that we've grown accustomed to in the past, along with the other features that Amy touched on. As a lease user with the NAA Click and Lease, completing the digital forms is essential. It'll give us the opportunity to send the lease forms to residents and renew all online, which in this age of form paperless, we all love. The litigation defender insurance is, to me, a really great opportunity. It will kick in if a plaintiff challenges a provision of the lease and give us that extra protection. And just it being compatible with all other softwares, because we all do use various softwares. But I'm sure you'll hear more about those as we go, but we're confident as AANC that this will allow us the opportunity to offer the highest quality lease package to our members. And with respect to the quality of the lease, I'm sure you'll find it to be a great quality. Many management companies have used both lease products without really noticing a significant difference. And we're very excited to kick it off. Norm, if you've got anything to add, feel free.
Sure. This was a hard decision to make, but given the changed circumstances, in the landscape, given the free leases coming out from other competitors such as Yardi and RealPage, and given the new enhanced products that NAA was coming out with for all states, it didn't appear that we could recreate the same product with all the bells and whistles and positives that NAA was coming out with just within North Carolina. So we'd be facing increased competition and probably decreased market share. That coming together with NAA agreeing to make changes to that we believe would strengthen the NAA lease in North Carolina to pretty much as strong as the AANC lease was in the past, and protecting the AANC lease income. The board voted to move forward, and we're excited about that. And I think we've got a better product than either AANC or NAA has had before. So we're excited about this.
Great. Thanks, Norm. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Amy. So now, like I said, we will transition over to Nick Tovar and Tim Rogers. Nick is with NAA and Tim Rogers is with Blue Moon. We'll talk a little bit about the actual transition process itself. Nick?
Well, thank you, Scott, for the introduction. And Amy and Sherry, we have to talk about this. You guys kind of stole my thunder on features and benefits that are going to happen. But that being said, my name is Nick Tovar, and I've been with NAA for about 2 years now. I'm the director of sales. So I like to, before any time I do, prospective users of our lease, I always like to have you meet their transition team. And since my video is on, I put up my picture. Now, as you can see, it could be a book cover or whatnot, but that was the last time my hair was that short. Because in quarantine, it has grown. And nobody actually knew I had curly hair. So this is me. 50, 12, and 2. Those numbers, they're not my locker combination. They actually only have meaning in a couple things. 50, I was raised in our 50th state of Hawaii, right on Kaneohe Bay, right next to Honolulu. 12, I was a 12-pound baby. For you to understand that, the average rates are around 6 pounds. I myself doubled that. And 2, I have 2 children / assistants. Now you may hear them in the background at some point. They like to come in and check on to see what their dad is doing. So please forgive me. I apologize in advance. So NAA C&L by the numbers. Obviously everybody here has used the AANC lease. And now we're asking you to transition over to the NAA Click and Lease North Carolina program. But just to give you a little bit of background on our lease, we are available in all 50 states. We have over 6 million units in the US currently participating in our program today, and over 3,000 plus management companies. Everything from the Greystar, Bazzuto's, the Avenue 5s, all the way to IROs and small to medium-sized management companies. I think the best way to do this is to actually hear some testimonial from people that currently use the lease. So if you bear with me, please just watch this brief video.
We love the Click and Lease program. There are so many reasons to use this program. Having nationwide forms that give us the consistency to be able to do audits, to be able to assure that we're all on the same page has just been a great benefit for us.
Our company operates in 35 states, so we've used Click and Lease for a long time, and part of it is for us to have consistency of the product, not just for the residents that we work with, but for our staff and our team, so we can very easily go through the resident experience and leasing process without a lot of re-education in terms of different leases and different products that we have out there, so it makes our life a lot easier.
We like the constant updates, so once a year an NAA will update the lease. We don't have to have it reviewed by a panel of attorneys. They let us know via email the lease has been updated with any new law changes in the states that we operate, and we're good to go from that point forward.
Not only does it promote consistency throughout our industry, but it is also helping us go paperless. And that's one of the biggest initiatives that Greystar has over the next several years, is to continue to go paperless. So doing the right thing for the environment, but also doing the right thing for our customer.
We trust this product implicitly, and we know that the Click and Lease program has been vetted by attorneys in all the states, and that has given us the benefit of not having to take that out to the marketplace and have somebody take a look at it to ensure that our risk management has been completely satisfied in using that Click and Lease program.
I think it is the credibility of the lease is the biggest thing. When you are going to court, there really is no pushback. The judges take the NAA lease as the gospel, and so we have no issues whatsoever in court issues. And so if you're like us and you're starting a new company and you don't want to spend the money to form your own lease, it's great. I would highly recommend it to anybody that's not currently using it.
So that was my Hollywood directorial debut. Please hold your applause. So some of our top features, Sherry and Amy touched on these, from integration with all the PMS, with any PMS software, all the way to, as you heard on the video, going online and paperless. Some other of the top features that we have, the legal compliance and risk mitigation. Amy talked about this. And really, we review our lease at least once a year. In many cases, it happens several times during the year. We have the cutting edge Blue Moon technology, which you're going to hear more from a little bit later with Tim Rogers. And then, of course, our NAA litigation defender insurance. NAA has always stood by our lease, but this just gives a little bit of extra punch. This is part of our gold standard initiative, and we actually launched this product in January. So if someone was to file a claim against your company that has to do with the language in our lease, your decision to use our product should not lead to additional expense. Basically what we're saying is at any time that the lease is challenged, our language, that we are going to stand by you guys. This insurance will kick in. It's a very simple process to take advantage of. You will just have to notify us and we can help you start that process. Very simple. We are one of the only lease companies actually out here providing this to members and lease users. So we are happy and to offer this as a benefit to you. So step one, review. I'm sure many of you guys have received emails, if not from me, from some of my other account managers on my team, but we hope that you've all at least taken the time to complete these steps. And I hope nobody is writing, because we are going to send out a recording of this video. We are going to send out, again, these links that you can take advantage of. So please don't hurt your handwriting, save some time, and just pay attention. So the step one, the NAA Click and Lease program, that is simply our website. If you go there, it tells you all of our features and benefits, where to get in contact, how to sign up. So very simply, we just wanted to give you the option so you can do an overview of the Click and Lease program on your own time. The NAA Click and Lease forms and addenda. This takes you to Blue Moon Forms. For Blue Moon, in Blue Moon Forms, you could see the entire lease package as well as all the addenda that are available to NC, North Carolina lease users. The comparison for the lease forms and webinar, we have Todd Whitlow, who is going to be talking later. He actually put together that presentation to talk about the lease and kind of walk you through the differences. And then the frequently asked questions. Again, this is just a form that explains common questions that we have received, but I'm going to cover a couple of them right now. So what does this transition mean? NAA is going to assist in setting up your properties with the information for the Blue Moon platform, so it'll go smoothly. This you guys don't have to worry about. We've already taken care of this. We just need to hear from you so we can start that transition. During this time frame, though, while we are helping you set up, you're not going to lose access to the AANC lease. They're actually going to be running at the same time, just so you can get used to the platform, which many of you already are. So I don't want you to think once you transition, we automatically shut off the AANC lease. That does not happen until July 11th, where we're hoping everybody will be transitioned by then. And then Blue Moon is doing a lot of work behind the scenes and automatically provisioning the new accounts. What changes should you expect in the leasing language? Well, just in case you didn't know, we actually work with the same law firm in North Carolina to do the AANC lease and the NAA lease. So you can expect the same legal review. You can also know that it will stay compliant with the North Carolina Landlord Tenant Code. This is probably the question that I get the most. One is my NAA Click and Lease invoice due? It is, you don't actually owe anything until we send out an invoice in November. You already paid for your AANC lease for the year, so it will automatically transition that. So for the full year and the rest of the year, you don't have to pay anything extra for the NAA lease. NAA will start invoicing in November for your regularly update in January 1st. So to set up, we'll receive a new account. Yes, Blue Moon will set you up with a new account for every AANC account. They will do this to their best of their ability by mirroring your current account. Blue Moon will also map over any of the default values for your lease as long as it's compatible with the NAA data. So what I don't want you to do, and what some people have done, is go to NAA Click and Lease and start placing new orders for your properties. You do not have to do that. You just got to notify me, or if you received an email from an account manager, them. So, please do not start placing new orders for your properties. You do not have to do that. You just have to, again, talk to me. The transition. So what do I need for the transition? We have many management companies out there that have several properties. We are hoping to speak with just one person at the management company that will aid in the transition, and then we'll be able to get the information out to all of your properties. So if you haven't already, just send us a quick email on who is the main contact at your management company. Once you notify me or an account manager of who the main contact is, we are going to send you your property list. We just want you to verify that property list and either add other properties that are coming over the lease, or if you currently are not managing one of those companies on our property list, just inform us, and then we let Blue Moon know that you are ready to transition. So I'll let Tim Rogers talk about Blue Moon. Tim, are you with us?
Nick, you may have to unmute. Yeah, there you go.
How about now? I just got echo.
Back up from your computer a little bit, Tim. That might help.
Who knows? Here, let's do this. How about that? Can y'all hear me okay?
There you go.
Yep, you're good to go.
All right. Let's try this. Let's try this again. And again, sound check, everybody okay? You can hear me, Scott?
Yep.
We're good to go.
Thank you. So the nice part about this conversion with everybody is that you are already used to the Blue Moon software platform. So as far as the technical setup, default values and all that, the process for doing that has not changed. When Nick notifies us that you're ready, I'll reach out from my side, confirm timing, and confirm who needs to get the activation emails for the new accounts. We'll go through and we will mirror your existing AANC accounts to new NAA accounts with both the default values as they apply and a new user. So you'll get the normal process that you're used to as far as getting an activation email. You'll set up your user credentials with the user ID and the password, and you will have both accounts inside your system. If you use the enterprise module with Blue Moon software, you will see both of those accounts in your enterprise level access as well. Once that is completed and you've set up your user, you can then go in and set up additional users and permissions as you need, and you can go through the default lease setup to verify the data that's been mapped over so that you're comfortable with that, as well as add any additional default values that you want to put into your lease package. As you go through this review, the NAA library, if you will, is extensive to what you were probably used to with North Carolina. So there will be new forms available to you as well. One critical piece is the default lease values are not required to actually generate a lease. All those do is provide a backstop and a really easy process so that you're not entering data over and over again. But they are not required to actually go and use the program. As soon as you set up a user and you've gone into the program, you can set up an NAA, or you can generate a NAA lease in North Carolina right away. We will be here obviously at Blue Moon to continue to help you through the process. If you don't have the enterprise level access for your management company and you've got multiple accounts with the program, reach out and we can set you up with that as well. But it's really easy. It's a nice convenient feature for you to copy and paste over settings that will help in this transition as well. The part that is going to take time, and I want to make sure that everybody pays attention to this aspect, is if you are integrated with a third-party property management software platform, a Yardi, a RealPage and Entrata, AppFolio, whoever it could be, you will need to set up an integration for the new, or when I say set up or adjust the integration for your new NAA account. If you configure your own accounts through those platforms, all you need to do is go and update the new account number, Blue Moon account number, serial number, license ID, whatever you're used to calling that, with the user ID and password that you've set for that new NAA ID. Based on how we integrate with those platforms, that will be all you need to do for that property management software to know to map to the new lease instead of the old lease. If you need help with that, please reach out to your property management software platform or reach out to us and we can help with that process as well. We want to make sure that that is reviewed, tested, confirmed well ahead of time so that when you actually flip the switch to move from AANC to NAA, it happens right away. There's no issues. There's no concerns for either you or your on-site teams. The other aspect is when you're going through this account and the setup for the NAA lease, there are some features inside the NAA program that didn't exist in the AANC program, namely the rental application wizard. If you use Blue Moon outside of AANC, you may already be used to that. If you do not, or you have not seen that, we've actually taken the rental application and kind of put it in its own little component and put it into a wizard so that the applicants or the prospects can go through an entire application process online and electronically sign that application to have all of that data put directly into not only Blue Moon, but into your property management software platform. So that's a nice feature where you no longer have to either send out hard copies of applications or have them on hand. It's all electronic, it's all paperless. And in today's world, that's kind of a nice thing. So if you are not used to that aspect, there's support videos on our website in bluemoonforms.com. There's also some documentation, but again, the Blue Moon support team is here to help through this entire process. Just let us know what we can do to help. We'll do webinars, training on the platform. If you haven't been in it in a while, we're happy to show you some of the new features we have. One of the added feature, obviously, with e-signature is also the e-signature by text or SMS, which is gaining traction. So we've provided a lot of added features that if you haven't checked it out lately, it might be a little bit new to you. But going back to the easy steps, that's further on down the road. The easy steps: get with Nick, get with NAA, let them know when you're ready to transition. He'll get with us. We'll confirm your portfolio and your properties. We'll go ahead and set up all of those mirrored accounts, send out the activation emails, and go from there. It'll take a little bit of time just to get used to it, but it's really an easy process. We've been doing it already with some management companies. It looks like it's going well, and just looking forward to helping out the rest of the group and the rest of the customers.
Thank you, Tim. And just to reiterate, the transition, there is no cost to do that. All you have to do is reach out to me, and I will set your team up with Tim to help you guys transition all your properties over to the NAA Click and Lease program. Scott, I'll turn it back to you.
Great. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Tim. That was very informative. So now we just want to open it up to any questions that anybody may have, and all of us are available to answer those questions. So Nick, do we want to open it up?
Absolutely. So I did have one question come in just to kick this off. Can you give me an absolute deadline for any AANC lease to be executed and or saved, printed out of Blue Moon before they are no longer available?
Who do we want to, you want to have me take that one, Nick?
Sure.
So right now we have the transition date happening on July 11th. So that is the day that by which everybody should be transitioned over to the NAA platform. So then after that date is the date we have to have the AANC lease and its forms expire. So right now it's July 11th.
Perfect, thank you. Do we have any other questions right now?
Nick, do we have to unmute people, or are they able to unmute themselves?
So in order we're asking people to raise and lower their hand. For those of you that are using Windows platform, just Alt-Y, that's a shortcut. For Mac users, it's Option-Y. Or if you go to your webinar panel, you can just click raise my hand.
Nick, there's a couple of questions coming into the Q&A. Do you want to read those and then we can pick them off one?
Sure. From do special provisions copy over?
That is a question. Tim, do you know if the special provisions will copy over?
Special provisions does copy over. That's one of the fields inside the system, and as long as that special provisions maps to the applicable lease in the NAA program, yes.
All right, next question. When will we expect to receive the information from the NAA rep to start the process? I'll take that one.
I was gonna say that's a you question.
Nick. The information yet. My information will be copied on, and I will send to everybody registered for this for this town hall an email with my contact information. We send out several emails already, but if you haven't heard from us yet, I'll make sure that you get my information after this meeting. I have a question from Jay Smith. Go ahead, Jay.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me all right?
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Excellent, excellent. All right. So I've been trying to work with NNA for a couple weeks, trying to go back and forth, trying to see why this would appeal to me. I'm a small private owner. I have 20 units. And I have my options of many leases, but I do like what my tenants prefer, and that is a paper lease. And the AANC paper lease seemed to work out fine. However, they're like gold. They're hard to find. What would be the benefit of me having to sign up and purchase a membership for my local TAA and then purchase another membership for NAA and then have confusing information of which lease to actually use?
I understand that.
Does that make any sense?
Yes. Nick, do you want to handle that, or do you want me to handle that?
You start. I'll go ahead and add on. Sorry, I'm trying to get these questions up and running.
Yeah, so I was going to, so to start off, just to handle the membership question, when you sign up and join your membership at the local level at TA, as you were explaining, that actually covers your NAA dues. So there's not a double membership issue there. It's one membership gets you both memberships. We also have, I believe you said you have 20 units, so we have small unit pricing. It's a slightly cheaper version of the program, so you're not paying the full rate while you're still getting the benefits of the entire program. And as Nick can tell you, like we were just saying, the various features of the program, all available to you, keeping you legal, ensuring it's a well-balanced lease. Your tenant should appreciate it. We have feedback from all across the country where we keep this lease legal that, it's a very, while it's handles all the landlord rights and makes them very clear, and it's very good for use in court. It's also tenant friendly. It explains to them what their rights are, et cetera. So it's a well-balanced lease with a lot of good benefit products. Nick, do you want to add to that?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Scott. While I was figuring out the technology here. To answer a couple of your questions, Jay, as an owner with you actually qualify for our small owner package. So that right off the bat is $100, and the first 20 units are free. And, we have a lot of features and benefits. One of the biggest features that people rely on us is for a risk mitigation and legal compliance. We take pride in the fact that we review all of our leases every year, and should anything arise during the year that needs to be changed, we also work with our state legal counsel or local legal counsel to ensure those changes are made. So that is a worry that you don't have to take on by yourself. And on top of that, we are actually providing what we talked about earlier, that litigation defender insurance. So besides having that kind of peace of mind, you're also joining our local our local affiliate. And that local affiliate spends countless hours trying to set up networking events, lobbying with some of the state legislator and fighting for kind of our legal rights. On the national level, we also do that. We have a strong government affairs presence on Capitol Hill. Joining at the local level gives you membership at the national level. You'll get multiple resources, white papers, at your fingertips that you'll be able to use. So you're getting a lot more than just the lease when you actually participate in our program. I hope that answers your question, Jay. And if not, I'd love to take some time after this call and kind of walk you through a little bit more. But I know we have a ton of questions coming in. So Jay, I'll write down your information and just shoot you a quick email after this, if you don't mind. Does that work for you, Jay? Or did you have other questions?
Well, I'm loving to hear an answer about specifically the paper leases. And why was it so confusing? Because it's like you said, I understood the $100 and you have a small business package. That sounds great. But then when I worked with Quai, with NAA to try and figure this out, after entering my properties, the invoice came to $600. And she specifically said, oh, that's just a software error. So I'm really confused.
Well, Jay, I will tell you, if you only have 20 units, the cost is 100.
That's what I thought.
That technicality, so I apologize that it may be misrepresented on the invoice, but I can take care of that for you. You know, I think there's a big movement to go online and paperless, and that is kind of a feature. So for document storage that you know, I would say most of our users love to take advantage of. Does that answer your question, Jay?
Well,
if it's a money, if it's
no, I'm just confused. It's just it's really strange how one system seemed to work for a while, and then if it doesn't work, then you move on. And I understand moving on, that's fine, but to get confusing information is a little tricky. I'm still trying to understand that.
No, and you know, our goal with this town hall was to answer these questions so you're not confused. You know, when we transition, we're making the transition from the AANC lease over to the NAA Click and Lease platform. It's very similar in usage. In terms of paper leases, you know, we prefer to have these all online, and our goal is not to confuse anybody here. So Jay, why don't we do this? After this call, I'll reach out to you personally and I'll walk you through all the steps to make sure that your questions are answered.
Great.
Thank you so much, Jay. We did have a couple other questions come in. Will custom addendums that we had added to our lease come over to NAA?
Tim, that's a Blue Moon question as well.
Happy to take that one. Yes, the custom forms are actually assigned to your portfolio level, so they're across all products. So they'll be, all you need to do is go in and enable those for the new NAA account.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
We have a hand raised from Felicia Smith. Felicia, can you? I think you're unmuted, Felicia, if you still have your question. All right, we'll come back to Felicia. If you are already using the NAA lease, do we need to do anything for the transition? So if you're already using the lease, that's great. If you had any properties that were using the AANC lease, there is, you still have to contact us to make sure we transition everybody. But if you have, you know, if you had a 10 property management portfolio and 5 was using AANC and 5 was using NAA, we still want to talk to you about making sure that the 5 that were using AANC transfer over. So please do contact us if you still have properties on the AANC list. Tim, I'll let you handle this one. To be clear, the lease history in Blue Moon will go away on 7/11?
That is correct at this time, is that the lease, the transaction history, because the lease package is different, will stick with the old ANC account, so that won't transition over. So if you have old PDFs, e-signed documents, one step that you want to do this conversion is make sure that you go through and download those into a separate location.
Perfect. We have a question from Kevin Springer. Kevin, I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Great. I think I'm unmuted.
Yep,
so my question is, I'm working on a transition plan for our portfolio, and I've got the beginning part down, that we're going to contact you guys. You guys are going to set up all new NAA accounts for everything that we can see on our corporate side. Our users will still be using the AANC lease, so we can go in and we can review the default leases for every property, enable the forms, lock down the fields, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a little confused about the part where we actually make the transition, because you talked about the property management software credentials. And if we change those, as soon as we change those, won't our users automatically be directed to the NAA lease?
Yeah, that is, I'll take this one. That's correct. So as soon as you put the new credentials into your production live environment, the property management software will make that flip over. By providing you both ANC and NAA accounts, you can reach out to your property management software and at least hopefully set up like a test database with them to test all of that technical side, if you will, and make sure that their mapping is working. Because depending on who you use for property management software, some are, I'll just say, more enhanced than others. And so some map all of the data points and it's a complete, it'd be a complete accurate whole package. On others, we'll want to make sure that they're mapping fields because maybe they weren't used to mapping a special provisions field for the animal addendum or the construction addendum, because that just may be the property management platform that you're using.
Okay, so, yeah, so we're using an NAA lease, across all of our portfolio except Carolina. So, and with Yardi. So if it's working now, it should be working. We don't normally test every property we onboard to make sure everything's mapped correctly.
Yeah.
So if it's working now, then we can skip all that and we can get into just the default leases, the enabled forms, and the fields that are locked down.
That is correct. And as soon as you update your credentials to the NAA credential from the ANC credential, it'll just go live at that point.
Okay, so for that July 11th deadline, that's just the end. So if we were to say contact you today, and then by Monday you had our properties, the NAA account set all for all the properties and all the default data copied over, we could go in and work on that. And then our go live date is totally dependent upon us changing our credentials with our property management software.
You are 100% correct. That's exactly right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see here. We have another hand raised from Jay Rawls. Go ahead, Jay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
So my question is, just regarding the differences in the two leases, and one of the main differences that we've talked about, because we use the NAA lease on across the portfolio, with the exception of North Carolina. Familiar with both of them, and one of the primary differences is the way. Two of the primary differences is, I guess, the NAA lease groups together all rent and charges on the first page, whereas the ANC lease has 3 lines where you can add additional charges that are non-base rent charges. And I'm assuming and hoping you can confirm that the remapping that's going to be completed on the part of Blue Moon will take all of those separate charges and just bundle them together on that one line, or that one blank on page 1 of the NAA lease. And second to that, the NAA lease has has this utility addendum, which is rather detailed. ANC has not had that. So, it's going to require, I imagine, on these properties, a lot of review on our part after the Blue Moon, remap to sort of, I guess, add in all of that additional utility information on the utility addendum. I would imagine, and I'm just, hoping you can clarify that. Any thing you can do to speak to that, splitting of charges, and then how it will translate over to the utility addendum would be useful.
Tim, do you want to mostly answer that question relating to how the information will port over? I know
Right.
We will port the information over, but I don't want to necessarily say, and Tim can talk to it better, sorry, this is Scott, that I don't want to necessarily say we'll automatically add all those numbers together for you and just put them on the first page of the NAA lease, because some members may not prefer to have that happen. They may prefer to break out certain charges into special provisions or other areas. But Tim, do you want to handle that question?
Yeah, Scott, I'll just confirm. You're correct. Unless it's a one-to-one, like address to address, owner to owner, we're not mapping any kind of calculations over, so that will need to be reviewed. And hopefully when you're setting those up, and hopefully you've got, maybe a couple screens up where you can easily make the connection on screen. But you're correct, Scott. We won't make any assumptions on calculations.
Tim and Scott, can I chime in just for a second? I also want to point out that actually combining those charges can be problematic for a number of reasons. Number one, because when you put that number into the rent and charges blank, any other charges that are charged off of that, like late fees or your court appearance fee or your complaint filing fee, they're going to be based probably, I'm guessing, on whatever that figure is that's in paragraph 6. And so if you're adding all those charges up, we've got a lot of litigation in North Carolina that is oriented around improper fees being charged. And so we generally advise taking a conservative approach, and the only thing you should be charging a late fee against is the base monthly rent, which is what they're paying to live in the apartment unit, not any valet trash fees or pet fees or anything like that that are being added and combined together to create a total liability. If you're charging 5% of that figure, there's a good chance that you could run into a problem. And so if you want to charge those things, that's fine. As Scott indicated in his answer, the best place to put them is in the special provisions section, either at the end of the lease or in paragraph, I think it's 11, or paragraph 10 of the NAA lease. You can set those amounts out and specify that they're due at the same time as rent is due.
Thank you for that. That is just helpful, and I think the only side note I would have to that is, currently if we have, we could obviously add it to the default lease if those fees are consistent. Let's say there's a $25 valet trash fee, and you can just, it's across the board for all 200 units on property. But what if the fees are variable, but by unit type or, sort of one-off fees for rental furniture or something like that? Currently we can map those to those additional monthly rent lines in 1C on page 1 of the AANC lease. And if we're not, grouping them together on line 6, which I can understand we may not want to, is there a way that they can somehow be mapped, from our management systems, the Yardies and the one sites over to the NAA lease, or do those just have to be sort of manually entered in special provisions on a one-off basis?
I think Scott or Tim will have to address that one. I don't deal with any mapping. I was told I would not have to know any software questions.
Yeah. Do my best on this one. I know on like the Yardies, you can put in custom tokens with calculations before they get mapped over. Within the NAA lease, if you've got one line that says total fees, I know on the property management software, they can create those calculations before they actually map that data over and pull it back. So that may be a better question for your specific property management platform, which may also resolve your potential issue on them being variable to the specific unit.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have a couple more chat and question and answers here. What is needed from a site level for this? Is this to be solely handled at a regional level in regards to contacting Nicholas? Well, anybody can contact me what they want, but when they want. But what we prefer is to have one main point of contact. So if you're handling this at the regional level, please have them contact me, and it'll be easy to confirm your properties and then start the process with Blue Moon. Can we still print out a paper copy for the residents that want one? You can always print out a copy of the NAA lease if you want a resident to look over that, the lease itself. Let's see here. If you are already using the NAA lease, I think we got to that one earlier. Let's see. Who do we reach out to in order to start the transition? Again, I will send out another email to everybody that is attending this town hall, and also email the management companies again with my contact information, where you can ask any question that you would like, and I'll help you get the transition of your property set up with NAA and also with Blue Moon. What is the best way to list additional lease charges if market rent alone should appear on the first page of the lease?
I think that's a Todd question. I think, Todd, you touched on that a little while ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the larger areas of difference between the two leases, and the fact that, as Jay already pointed out, the AANC lease breaks down those charges. The NAA lease is designed just to put the base rent in, and you would put those additional charges into the special provision section of the lease, probably based on the need for verbiage and explaining what those fees are for. You're going to want to put it either at the end of the lease, or there's an addendum that is a special provisions addendum. In addition to that, each of the addenda or services or products that's going to have a fee attached to it, that fee is going to be set forth on those addenda. So, I mean, it's just going to be an important component to training your site level staff people that when they're going over the lease with someone, or if somebody's signing a lease electronically, that they're itemizing what those charges the resident is going to be responsible for when they're either at move-in or sometime along those lines. But I mean, as long as it's set out in the special provision section, the resident is going to be obligated to pay it.
Thanks, Todd.
Perfect. Let's see here. We also have additional forms added for signature. My property has additional addendums that are digitally signed. Will they automatically transfer, or will this need to be sent again? As an example, valet trash and other policies.
I think that's a Tim question. That's the same question of basically of whether or not custom forms will port over. So Tim, you can handle that question.
Happy to, and that's correct. If you have custom forms that are e-signature enabled, they'll remain e-signature enabled, and you just need to go into those new NAA accounts in the manage custom forms and enable those forms for those new accounts. The e-signature will port over.
Thank you, Tim.
Are we going to receive a sample copy of the new merge lease? We would like to know specifics that are changing, such as what addendums are changing, lease break options, etc. So we have enough time to review and familiarize before it rolls out live. So yes, the copy of the whole lease package is available on Blue Moon Forms. We will provide a link to that, so anybody that would like to can review the lease itself, and also all addenda available for the program. And also, I would encourage you, if you want to learn about the lease changes and the lease itself, to watch the YouTube webinar video that we made available, and again will be provided after this town hall.
Yeah, Nick, I would just add it's a very lengthy webinar. Thanks to Todd and Norm that put that together for us. That covers all those details on what the differences are between the leases and the key facts there.
Is there a written copy of the questions being asked and answered? So we have a frequently asked questions document that again we'll send out after this, and also this webinar is being recorded, which we'll send a link after again after the town hall. Tim, I think this one's for you. Is there a concise way to download the stored Blue Moon leases instead of individually having to filter through and save each one as a PDF?
Not currently, but if we can make some progress on that, I will make sure to update this with NAA and Nick on potential solutions.
Okay.
We're to add a little bit to that, Nick. We're right now trying to evaluate options to make that transition easier for you. I just don't have an answer.
Okay. Will NAA consider putting a summary of rent and other charges in that field at some point in a revision? The heading to 6 is rent and other charges. And then the blank is being pointed out for base rent. Can that, Mary, would you mind if I unmuted you so you could ask this question? I just want to make sure I'm getting it right here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Perfect. It worked out. Mary, would you mind asking your question here? I just want to make sure it's stated correctly. I wasn't doing it.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for doing this today. That 6th line that's been discussed a little bit in the past few questions is titled Rent and Other Charges. But the blank, as Todd pointed out, really is rent, and it's intended for that. So I wondered if NAA would consider in an upcoming, like soon revision, maybe the next revision, breaking out the other charges that flow from the different other provisions and addenda. I've used the NAA lease in other states, and I've had that issue or problem where renters see that one number on the front, and then, you know, they go brain dead on the back pages. And we developed an addenda of our own to try to help, but still, when they put that lease back in front of you, they've forgotten about the trash charges and the other charges, and it is confusing. So we would love to see that as a future revision.
Yeah, I'll take that question. This is Scott. So yeah, we revise the NAA lease at least once a year, sometimes more than once a year in North Carolina. We'll take that under consideration probably in July, I think, is when we'll be doing our next update, the end of July with North Carolina. So we'll talk to Todd and Norm and get their feedback on that, and get operator feedback on that as well. And we'll take it under consideration.
Great, Scott, thanks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mary. Let's make sure here. All right, next question is, some North Carolina housing authorities require the breakdown of rent portion to show on the lease. Would you recommend to put that breakdown in special provisions?
I don't mind trying to take that, Nick. I mean, I think that's going to be the only appropriate place to put it. I mean, I'm assuming the nature of this question is that there's a portion of rent being paid by the resident, and there's a portion of rent being paid via a housing choice voucher or some other type of subsidy program. If that is in fact the purpose of the question, then I think that's the only place you're going to be able to put it, because you don't want to put in just the portion of rent the resident is responsible for in paragraph 6. Although that's going to be what the late charge should be based off of. There is an affordable housing addendum that can be used in combination with the NAA lease, and you may want to look towards that for utilization under that type of program.
Okay. Let's see here. Do we have other questions coming in? I may have missed one or some zooming here. scrolling through the chat.
Wearing the same shoes.
Let me check. Please raise your hands or type one in the questions and answers or in the Zoom chat if you have another question. Give it a couple more minutes here. See here. Okay. Are there any other questions one more time?
What I was going to say, yeah. Well,
All right, Scott, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Yeah, like Nick said, thanks everybody for joining us today. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to me or to Nick. We can make sure that either we answer your question directly or we can direct you to the right people, be that Tim at Blue Moon or maybe Norm and Todd with legal questions out of North Carolina. But with that, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. And like I said, if you have any questions, please let us know and we'll do our very best to make this transition easy for everybody. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, there was one other question that came in right at the end about the handbook.
Okay.
I'm guessing you want to advise them that that's the next project that will be in the works.
Exactly. As I say, we have a copy of the handbook. We need to work to update it based on the combined lease and the AANC lease no longer being available. So we'll be working with the folks in North Carolina to update that. And once that's updated, we'll be pushing that project out.
Thank you, Angela. Oh, we have another hand raised. Let me take a look here. Sherry, go ahead.
hey, I just wanted to clarify or just make sure. I feel like this has been communicated with the AANC users, but the current handbook in its form, if I'm not mistaken, will be taken down as of a certain date. And isn't it available for members to download in advance of that date? And what is that date?
It will be taken down at a certain date. Let me follow up with with Josh at AANC and figure out if you can download it prior to then. I would assume so, but I don't know, to be honest. I need to follow up on that for you.
Hi, Scott. This is Norm Praet. You can definitely download it. You need to. Anybody who wants to do that right now can go through Tracy Hankins, Director of Operations at Apartment Association of North Carolina, and email her a request at this point.
Thanks, Norm.
Nathan Boone asked, will there be a NAA legal handbook? Yes, that's what I was reading. We're working on that currently.
If you got anything from NAA,
See here. Nathan, did that answer your question or did you have a more follow-up on that?
It did. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. All right.
All right.
Please feel free. We have another hour. You guys have me, Scott, the whole team.
They won't let it just.
All right. Scott?
Yeah, just thanks again to everybody for being here. Like I said, if you have any questions that come up either today or anytime in the future in this transition process, just reach out to either me or Nick and we'll get your questions answered right away. And thanks everybody for being here today. Talk to you soon.